Whether it's quality life improvements, ports, or maybe you essentially want to own the game physically. We've all had that moment of rebuying a game, and that's what I want to talk about today, guys. I want to talk about games that I've double dipped in. Now, before I get into it, folks, be sure to leave a comment below. What is a game you own the most in your collection? Stay tuned for the end because I'm going to talk about mine. It might surprise you. Now, the first game I want to talk about, I actually don't own physically, but I would in a heartbeat if M2 and Sega Ages did a compilation release. And this game right here, Phantasy Star, needs no introduction, but the Sega Ages version, to me, is the definitive way to experience the game. Now, for some of you folks who don't know what Phantasy Star is, it was Sega's answer to Final Fantasy and the Dragon Quest juggernauts in Japan when it comes to role-playing games. And it's a great old-school JRPG. One of the most innovative things when it comes to console gaming was that first-person perspective in the dungeon crawling sections. And, you know, back in the day, you'd have to have graph paper or guide, or you would essentially get lost. Well, the Sega Ages version adds a map feature. I know, that sounds very elementary, but I kid you not, it makes the game so much more accessible for new players, as well as some things like enhanced experience points. So if you're someone like myself who grew up playing the game that want to take a walk down memory lane, the Sega Ages port of Phantasy Star is definitely worth owning, and most of the time it's on sale, so you can get it for like $5 on the Nintendo Switch. Now, I'm a big fan of the Yakuza series, or now more known as Like a Dragon, here in the States, but, you know, it was Yakuza 0 that really pulled me in, like many others. And when I got into that action RPG brawler that had a gripping story and even crazy and wacky mini games, I wanted more. So I went out and I started buying them. I started buying Yakuza 1 and 2 on the PS2. I got 3 and 4 on the PS3. But one game that always stuck in my mind was the fact that Yakuza 5 was never released physically on the PS3. It was only a digital download, and that kind of turned me off until 2020 when Sega released the compilation collection of the Yakuza series. This is 3, 4, and 5 on separate disc that you can play up-res, uncensored, and Sega didn't have to do this, but they even made a Yakuza 5 PS3 case. So if you're like me and you like things uniform, you can have it sitting there on the shelf. Absolutely amazing. And yes, I will be getting Kiwami 3 because I'm one of the weirdos that actually enjoyed Yakuza 3 because I felt like it really dived into the emotional state of Kiru Kazuma, and I felt like that game walked so the rest of the series could run. I'm a huge fan of the shmup genre, or shooters, rather it's a caravan, bullet hell, vertical, horizontal. There's something euphoric about dodging all the bullets with a bumping soundtrack, and one of my absolute favorites is Rolling Gunner. The most interesting mechanic of Rolling Gunner is the rotating gun. It's a detachable turret that rotates around your ship, and you control your ship's movement while the gun auto-rotates to track enemies. This creates a dynamic playstyle where positioning is key. This game was recommended to me by my friend Darren over at Warp Zone Games years ago. He's like, man, you gotta play this game, and he always talked about it, so I bought it digitally on the Switch, and I was like, man, I want to own this physically. So I did some research, found out that it was a limited release in the US. It was already sold out. But since Nintendo Switch is region free, I got this from PlayAsia. And man, I love the Nintendo Switch when it comes to shmups. I feel like they have a great library, and one that you have to own is Rolling Gunner. I'm a huge fan of Mega Man. I mean, who doesn't like Mega Man? And there's so many ways I can enjoy the Mega Man series, whether it was playing it on the original NES or various different compilations or emulation. But I had to get this, and this is Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 on the PS4. And the reason why the PS4 version is because unlike the Switch, it has everything on the disc. And why is this important? Because this is I believe the only way to actually own physically Mega Man 9 and 10. And you have to understand, when Mega Man 9 and 10 came out during the Xbox 360 era, you know, the nostalgia and the retro market was just starting to really bloom. And to see the Blue Bomber go back to the old 8-bit days, I was eating it up. I absolutely loved it. I feel like not enough people talk about Mega Man 9 and 10. I feel like they're great games, and it's even better to actually own them on a disc and have a way to preserve them for years to come. You know, I never thought in 2025 that I would get nostalgic for the Xbox 360 era, but here I am showing a physical copy of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, a game that I played originally on the Xbox 360. It's an action beat 'em up, very reminiscent of games like River City Ransom. And when this game came out, the beat 'em up genre was kind of a thing of the past, so it's kind of a throwback. Now it's bigger than ever with games like River City Girls 1 and 2. Definitely catapulted that genre, but Scott Pilgrim is really, really special. I love the manga, I love the movie, can't wait for the sequel of the game to come out, and to have it physically from limited run with, you know, all the bells and whistles, you know, manual, a little card here, alternate cover. I had to own it. I had to rebuy it. This is the way it is. I was a big fan of the Wii U. When the Wii U came out, I was one of those folks that would die on the hill saying that the Wii U was a great console, and unfortunately Nintendo didn't feel the same way, but Nintendo did, you know, give a little indie company called Yacht Club Games a chance to release their game Shovel Knight. Now Shovel Knight has went on to become commercially successful, even has its own amiibo. You know, to see an indie company have their own amiibo from Nintendo, I definitely love that, and I had to buy a physical on the PlayStation 4. I have it digitally on the Wii U when it first came out. And if you're a big fan of, you know, the NES platformers like Mega Man and DuckTales on the NES, this is a game you need to play. I think a lot of people have played Shovel Knight. If you haven't, you're really missing out. And now you can have it physically with all the DLC. There's so much expansions for it as well. But what is a game that I own the most in my collection? Street Fighter 2. I have so many Capcom collections that have Street Fighter 2. I have Street Fighter collections that have multiple Street Fighter games. I have the arcade 1-up Street Fighter 2 cabinet in the studio. There's just something about that game that really, you know, harkens back to my early days of playing the arcade, and, you know, to be able to buy it on new hardware and play folks online and kind of relive that arcade experience. It could be 20, 30 years from now. You know, we have like the PlayStation 9 or PlayStation 10, whatever. I will still buy Street Fighter 2 just to play with folks online. I absolutely love that game. But anyway, folks, those are some games that I've double dipped. What about you? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts and opinions. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, but also ring the bell for more notifications and to know what's going on with this channel. And also be sure to check out the podcast that I co-host, the Indie Credible Podcast with Jeffrey Wittenhagen from Hagen's Alley Books. It's a weekly show where we dive into all sorts of indies and homebrews. It's good stuff. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And as always, happy gaming.